Hey, Andre, you know that the F-150, according to Ford at least, is the best-selling truck in America for the last 3,000 years.
Yes, I think it's like 42 years or something.
And a new one doesn't come along all that often, but it's happening on the 25th of this month.
Yes, so June 25th, the brand new 2021 Ford F-150 is making its world debut on the world stage.
Yeah, and unfortunately we won't be there because we published some pictures that Ford didn't like and they uninvited us. But in this video, we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the fact that we've come up with a list of things that we think Ford has to do in order to keep that leading position in the truck world, at least here in America. So this is our list of it's more than 10, right?
Yeah.
Top 10 things Ford needs to do with the new F-150 to stay not just competitive, but to stay number one. And then at the end, we've got some bonuses, which I think you're going to really enjoy.
Thank you for joining TFL Talking Trucks podcast. If you love pickup trucks or big full-size SUVs, if you love trailering, towing, and going off-road, this is the right place to be. Together, we can make this podcast the most popular ever.
So let's just get right to it. What's number 10?
Number 10 is capability that must increase and be class leading. That's very important. And you mentioned about sales leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Chevrolet, General Motors, and Ram are pressuring Ford big time. Ram is trying to making huge improvements in their sales numbers across the board, light duty and heavy duty trucks for full size. And now General Motors actually had a great quarter. Number one, a quarter of this year. And General Motors is currently having this maximum towing war with Ford, right? GM said 13,400 pounds is their maximum towing capacity. Ford is currently at 13,200.
For their full-size truck.
Yeah, for their F-150 slash 1500 series trucks. So I would expect for 2021, Ford actually has already a class-leading payload. So they're kind of okay there.
What's their payload?
Like 3,275 pounds. I mean, huge.
If you guys are new into trucks, this is important because payload is basically the amount of stuff you could put in the truck. And now people kind of confuse that because they think that's 3,000 pounds of like stuff they could put in the bed. No, that's 3,000 pounds of stuff you could put in the truck, including the people in the truck, including the gasoline,
including your dogs,
everything. Dogs. And it's also important because it determines how much you can tow, not just because of the tow rating, but because usually the tongue weight accounts for 10%
of the trailer.
The trailer. So if you fill up the truck, then you still have to keep in mind you're going to need like 10% of that capability, or in this case about 300 pounds for tongue weight with whatever you're towing.
Yeah, so in order to do this, Ford has to probably update the frame, and they're calling it all-new truck. But you've seen the prototype almost unclad, right?
Yeah, let's roll that video right now, and you'll see it's not that easy to distinguish this new 2021 model from the old 2020 model. I mean, when a vehicle is popular and successful, the new generations are always evolutionary, never revolutionary. It's only when the thing is struggling to sell or when they're trying to, increase the popularity of it, that's when they do something crazy. But if it's already popular, they're not going to mess with a good thing. So style-wise, they're very similar.
Yeah, like you can see the cab, right? There's a cut in the window. Yeah. The bed looks mostly the same.
The LEDs are a little different, that C-clamp that Ford is talking about.
Yeah, they updated the grille and the headlights. Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later on our list. But in order to increase capability, you have to have axles, chassis, brakes. It's not just about the engine, right?
Well, let's little caveat, Andre.
What?
Now it's not just about... In the past, what the manufacturers often did, and Ford did this as well. Actually, Ford was one of the most notorious to doing this. Let's say Chevy came out or Ram came out with a truck that would tow 200 pounds more than the Ford, right? Ford would send out a press release.
Oh, we're towing more now.
Without changing the engine, the brakes, the chassis, the frame. But now, because of the Society of Automotive Engineers, the trucks have to meet a relatively rigorous set of standards, and so those numbers are more real. They're not 100% real, but they're more real.
And that standard is the J2807, yes. Right? And it requires the truck to perform under pressure, towing maximum load in heat,
Yes.
right? They test on Davis Dam.
And then it has to also come to a complete stop, hold the load if it's on a steep grade, which is great. So now those numbers are actually more meaningful because there's some numbers that are actually measured in a scientific way versus just, hey, sprinkling some towing dust.
Right.
So the other question I have, of course, Andre, is do you really need a half ton to tow 15,000 pounds or 14,000 pounds? I mean, it seems like now you're getting into heavy duty territory, right?
Yeah.
How much more can Ford go up without actually getting to the point where the truck is no longer a half ton; it's a heavy duty truck in its capability?
Absolutely, I think we are there now.
Yeah, I agree.
So 13,200 pounds or 13,400 pounds is already an insane amount of weight for a half ton truck. You got to remember, the F-150 or the other trucks in this category, they weigh about 5,000 pounds themselves. You're asking the truck to tow something that's 2.5 times heavier than the truck itself. So physics usually doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, and technology can only make up so much.
Yeah. So I think we're almost there. They might go up 200 pounds, right? Or 201 pound,
right?
So they might do something there to maintain class-leading numbers.
And the thing is, I think we've been doing this long enough where part of it certainly is real, but part of it is also marketing, right? It's like Ford wants to be able to say the two words that all manufacturers want to say, and that's class-leading, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't become about like you guys out there actually towing. I mean, if you've ever towed 13,000 pounds with a half-ton truck, your palms get sweaty. It's like that Eminem song, really, because you feel like you're probably a little bit beyond the truck's capability, even though you may not be in terms of its real capability, but you feel that, like you said, the physics of the situation. And so it doesn't become about like work truck, people actually using it. Some do, but it becomes about like being able to do that commercial, Ford trucks built super tough,
class leading.
Exactly.
But also it's a very specific configuration, right?
Yes.
It's usually a 2-wheel drive truck with the most powerful engine. In a very specific way built. So it's not like you can go out to your dealer and say, give me a truck that tows 13,000 pounds.
Yeah, let me explain that too for all you people who are out there listening to this who may not be as up on towing as we've been doing it for 10 years now. So what ends up happening is, once again, you've got that payload number, and the more stuff you put into the truck, be that cool radios, be that 4-wheel drive, be that
panoramic sunroof,
be that King Ranch logos. Yeah. the more weight that the truck, the heavier it becomes, and the less payload you have, and thus the less you can tow. And so to get that max towing, you do have to have a very specific truck, and
usually a base model.
Usually a base model, 2-wheel drive, short cab, right?
Yeah.
And never in the commercials do you ever see that model, right?
It's always a crew cab, it's the most luxurious.
It's never an XLT,
right.
White truck,
right,
with like skinny wheels,
right.
And that's the other thing. You also need, if you start putting on the big 20s, you're also losing towing capability.
Yeah, it's up to the tires as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but you never see that. You see like the visual is of the King Ranch towing this huge amount up wherever, Davis Dam, but in real life, that truck won't do it.
Right. So let's move on to number 9.
Yes.
Which is value.
Yeah.
It's very important these days, or any day, actually. Currently, the 2020 F-150 has a starting price of $28,745. And usually what happens is year after year, even if it's not a brand new truck, right, the price always creeps up, right? Yes, manufacturers add certain features, they maybe subtract certain features, but the starting price is usually going up. So how important do you think value has to be?
Andre, I think out of this list right now, I would definitely say, we ordered it in a way we thought was important. Mm-hmm. We had a long discussion about this, but I'm going to say value, for me at least, is number 2 on the list, not number 9.
So it should move up.
It should move up, and that's because I think with what's happening with COVID and with the economy, I think people are going to be really struggling to make truck payments, and so I think the days of like $100,000 truck are probably numbered, right? When the economy was booming and everybody was buying these crazy expensive trucks that were approaching like BMW 7 Series, pricing. Those were the good old days. I think we're heading into some turbulent waters, so value is going to be, I think, a strong driver of truck sales. So yeah, it's got to be valuable. And the other thing you don't want is valuable but decontented. Nobody wants to feel like there's one thing to have a work truck, but there's another thing to have like a base bone truck where you feel like you're driving, roll up windows and really plasticky steering wheel and plastic everywhere. So the value proposition isn't just make it inexpensive, but also make it feel valuable and keep the price point low.
And it's very hard to do.
Hard to do.
So manufacturers have to deal with government regulations,
yes.
right? There's safety regulations, which we'll talk about a little bit later. There's fuel economy standards. All of this stuff is going on. And people are now using these as kind of family vehicles, too. It's no longer just, for the job site or, hauling lumber. So it's a very hard thing to do. And everybody, no matter how many videos we publish about trucks, right, everybody always says, how come trucks are so expensive? But I think it's you touched on it. The content that's in the truck, technology that's in the truck, and safety that's in the truck increases the price overall.
Yeah, and then we don't usually talk about this because it's so sometimes almost abstract, and that is how much money you can get as a discount for a truck. Because let's face it, trucks are highly profitable for the manufacturers, and then they're also highly discounted. So it really depends on what kind of a deal you can get at it. And that has a lot to play with it. So, yes, trucks are expensive, but for the most part, you can get anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000 off a truck, depending on how and when you buy it,
or even more sometimes. In some cases,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's just a hard number to quantify because it varies so much. And there's like some of the incentives are based on whether you owned a previous Ford or whether you owned a previous competitor to the Ford. Right. It goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And number 8 on our list is technology. So, yes, we talked about value, but the market is moving on, right? If you look at Ram, Chevrolet, GMC, Toyota, and Nissan even, they're all raising the technology game, right? And I think we're trying to call out a couple of items here because the world is changing. Tesla is going to come into this space. Rivian is going to come into this space. So Wi-Fi capability and over-the-air updates are two things that we need to call out.
Yeah, and of course, I think we also talked about this when we made this list. Self-driving is coming, I think Ford was kind of very proud of Sync when it first came out. Remember when it first came out, and then the world looked at it and they were like, "Ugh, what is this?" And over the years, it's gotten actually more like what they promised as opposed to what it actually was. So I think we're at Sync 3.4 now. That's the latest version that we have in our F-250, and it's actually becoming much better. But having said that, the tech in a truck is still is nowhere near, and not just in a truck, in a car, is nowhere near kind of the tech that you have in this phone, right? Whether you're a Google or iPhone user, it doesn't really matter. It still feels very far behind. It's like car and truck companies are really good at building cars and trucks, and they're really bad at doing software.
Or user interfaces in some way.
Interfaces, yeah.
But they're getting better.
Yeah, but there's stuff that like on Sync, if you adjust the volume, it shows you the volume going up and down, but then all of a sudden you lock out all the other controls. The gold standard for me in terms of technology right now is Tesla, because I think Tesla is a technology company. A lot of truck guys out there and gals might be thinking to yourself, I don't want any of that fancy stuff, but it does work, autonomous braking saves lives, blind spot monitoring. One of the coolest features that we had, so last year we had the Ram 1500, and this year we bought the Silverado. And guess what feature I missed the most, Andre, out of all that we don't have in the Silverado that Ram, I think it's exclusive to Ram actually. It's when you're towing a trailer
Right.
And
it measures the
length of the trailer,
Yeah.
and then it includes that in the blind spot monitoring. That is so useful to me. When you've got another 25 feet behind you, and the truck doesn't know that there's another 25 feet behind you, and that's unfortunately the case with the Silverado right now, right? So the little light comes on, blind spot monitoring light comes on, but it's only thinking about the truck. It's not thinking about the trailer. Whereas with the Ram, it actually included the trailer in that. And I
For
thought
the same price. Both trucks cost about the same.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to get down on Ram. I'm just saying that's probably the one feature that I missed the most that Ram did really well. And I'm not sure a lot of this stuff is that expensive, right? Because what you're doing is you're using the same hardware. You're just configuring the software in a different and more kind of, in this case, useful way.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sync 3.4. It's already pretty advanced. They're moving up to next version soon, I believe. And I mean, Ford already stated that they want to do over-the-air updates or checking the health of the vehicle. Wi-Fi connectivity is already there. And when you do it in scale, now they're going to be doing it for every vehicle, right? When you do it in scale, the price will come down.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, so we have had now 2 Teslas, and they probably every month or two we get an update, and some of these updates are silly, like they'll do like the fart mode where you can
a game or whatever.
And some are really cool, like with the Model 3 it actually increased performance, so they unlocked a little bit of the battery via an over-the-air update, and you wake up and your car is actually quicker. That's really cool, and like this technology I was talking about where it measures the blind side, I think that's something you could do over the air. The problem with that, Andre, as you know and Ford knows, is there's a disincentive for manufacturers to do that, because that means you don't have to bring your car in, or truck in this case, to the dealership. And then, nowadays, a large portion of dealership profitability comes from service. And if you're doing it over the air, the dealer never sees the truck.
Yeah, but I think the mindset is changing, right? And I think some disruptors like Tesla have done that. So maybe you still need to change your oil. Maybe you need to let your dealer do that, because you cannot do it over the air.
Or let's be realistic, you need to do a recall.
Yes. Or maybe it's more complex than just over the air.
And I'm joking, but I don't think we've had a vehicle that we've purchased that hasn't had a recall within the first month of ownership.
Right, and it's just a par for the course for all the vehicles. But I mean, yes, you can make a claim that dealership network is very important still. But I think there's still room for that, right? Ford is now installing their charging stations at dealerships, right?
Yeah, that worked well for Nissan.
So there's other ways of doing it, but there's expectation that you can make your truck better just by having this over-the-air connectivity.
And sorry if I'm being a little kind of facetious there, but
Sure.
I remember 10 years ago when the Leaf came out and we got all these press releases. That's a great thing about having done this for so long, right? You remember.
Right.
We got all these press releases about how, we're going to be able to charge up our Leafs at the Nissan dealership, which is grand, except for when you're living day to day with your vehicle, you don't necessarily want to go to the local dealer to charge it up. It's not the most convenient of places.
Right, or it's always busy or something.
Or if you're on vacation, honey, let's go on vacation.
Let's go to a dealer.
Let's go to a dealer to charge up our vehicle. Right. So yeah, that's kind of the minimum. I mean, that's kind of like saying, we've got air conditioning at our dealership. If you're selling electric vehicles, you got to have a charging station.
I was at SEMA last year with the Ram, and I was driving it home, and we got some work done at the dealer on my trip. And one of the dealerships in Vegas area had a diner inside of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was old school diner, with real, just everything happening. And I actually walked in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I needed breakfast. And it was a wonderful experience. So,
which kind of deal was this? What was the brand?
Oh, I think it was a Ford dealer. Right next to the FCA dealer.
Wow.
Right next door, and there was a diner, and it was wonderful. So maybe the paradigm is shifting.
All right. What's our next bit that they have to do to compete?
Number 7 on the list is towing technology.
Yes.
So we just mentioned capability, other technologies, but camera systems, backup assist systems with trailers.
Yeah, so I was just talking about a technology that GM doesn't have in the Silverado. Let's talk about one that they do have that the others don't have, which is that Clearview trailer. where I got to go on.
Kind of go see through the trailer.
So basically, you mount the camera on the back of your trailer, and then it connects to the truck. And then when you look at the rear view, the truck takes that image and basically makes your trailer disappear. So you see exactly what's behind your trailer, and that is really useful because oftentimes, especially with a big trailer, you don't know, if there's a bicyclist,
or a car coming up behind you,
or a very fast-running horse. You have no idea what's behind you.
Or if you're backing up and there's somebody walking behind you, that's very,
or how far
huge.
You can back it up. It's really cool tech, and to be able to see through the trailer. So I think camera tech is probably the one thing that's really changed. The downside to the GM system was that it was still hardwired, right? You have to have a wire that goes from that camera across the trailer.
I mean, there's different schools of thought, that there's no lag, because if you have a wireless system, that there may be some lag between the camera and what you're seeing.
It's just a little bit more wires. The other one they have, of course, is where you can see in the trailer.
Yeah, so you can set up multiple cameras.
So if you had that horse that ran away from your trailer, it was running.
It's missing. The horse is missing.
It's not there anymore.
My horse is missing. So, and Ford pioneered that backup assist system, right?
Yeah.
So where you can back up, you let go of the steering wheel, and use the little knob.
What do you think of
next
that? I know Range Rover has it now. I haven't seen that catch on, really. I mean, I haven't seen any comments about it. I haven't seen any buzz around it. I mean, what you do get a lot is like guys and gals saying, if you don't know how to back up a trailer, you should be
driving. Right.
But I haven't seen like a lot of people use that. It hasn't. I don't know. Do you think it's caught on? What do you guys think? Let us know.
I think the reason why. Yeah, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
First of all, but I think it has to do with how easy that system is set up initially. So initially, when Ford introduced it, they gave you stickers, like checkered stickers. You have to put a sticker on the tongue of the trailer and configure it and kind of walk around. That's kind of cumbersome. So then what they did with the Super Duty for 2020, they also have a sensor that you can put on the trailer. And the sensor actually kind of takes care of a lot of that configuration part of it. So it became easier. So I think if it becomes easier to set up, I think more people might use it.
Yeah, we got videos of that. But basically what happens is, imagine you have a steering wheel, and normally when you back up a trailer, if you want to go right, you turn the steering wheel left, so it's counterintuitive. And what this allows you to do is there's a little secondary knob, kind of looks like the top of like I drink a lot of Lipton iced tea, one of those caps. And actually, the quality of it is about the same, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And instead of spinning the wheel the counterclockwise away, you just turn it the same way that you want the trailer.
And the truck figures it out.
And the truck figures it out.
Yeah.
So you use this little tiny like knob to control the direction of the truck, and then the truck does everything else. It brakes for you.
So here's the next step, right? And you said Land Rover does a similar system.
Yep.
The next step, I think, is you kind of tell the truck where you want the trailer. You just get out of it and let it park your trailer for you.
Yeah, or if they were being really innovative, they just give you like a guy that does it for you. You buy Ford.
Hi, Bob.
Get Bob or Sally.
Yes. And they'll park the trailer
like an Uber towing
Uber service.
Uber towing assistant.
Yeah. No, but I think that's important. It won't have help the value of the truck, because that system will probably cost money.
Yeah.
But if you do want a premium truck, I think that would be a cool feature.
All right, what's number 6, Andre?
Number 6 is style and appearance. So
we know what it's going to look like. We've got pictures.
Well, it's mostly unclad at this point. So they've changed the grills, they've changed the headlights, they've changed the front bumper a little bit, they've changed the taillight. But the truck looks familiar. And a lot of you guys already commented, and you guys said it kind of looks like a current truck.
Yeah,
in some ways.
You'd have a hard time telling them apart. I'm really serious. You'd have a hard time telling them apart.
Right. But this is very important, right, Roman? Because a truck is also about image, right? I mean, yes, a lot of it is for work. There's different schools of thought on this. But it has to look, macho, big, capable, right? All those things have to be there.
So, let's talk about Ram and Chevy at this point, and Nissan, and to a lesser extent Toyota, because the truck has been the same. But let's start with style and compare them to what we've seen in the new Ford. So the rub against the Nissan for the longest time, the Titan, was that it was like a copy of a Ford.
Of an older Ford.
Right.
It
was like a Ford from 2 generations ago. Now, the new Titan just came out, and I think they really updated it.
In a great way.
In a great way. And so if you look at the Nissan, it's kind of lost that Ford family resemblance, and they've kind of gone more toward, they had a prototype that they put out there, the Warrior concept, remember that? And they kind of gone with that styling design. And I think that's good for Nissan.
And it's unique,
It's unique, yeah.
Light signature is unique.
Yeah.
Just kind of the look of it is unique, yeah.
Now Ram, of course, when it was Dodge, went away from a traditional pickup truck styling, and they went to semi-truck styling, right? If you remember those old ones, they took
in the 90s.
Yeah, they took the headlights and they moved them up, and they made it look like a semi-truck. And then, of course, for the longest time, they had the crosshairs grill, right, which signified, obviously,
the brand, yeah,
shotguns, right, and rifles, yes, and not rifles. And now they've kind of gone to more of I would call it more of an elegant look. It's become a little bit more sophisticated. It's no longer kind of like that fist in your face. And so they've certainly gone their own way. And then, of course, the most controversial of all is Chevy. Yeah. And they've adopted, I don't know what the design language is. Last time I talked to Tom Peters, who designed the previous gen,
right.
He said it was a fist in the wind.
Right.
And there is a lot of that. I mean, you look.
It's very square.
It's very square, and you can almost see the fist in the wind. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. When I first saw the Chevy, I didn't like it, but now since we've had it, I've really grown to like it.
And we talked to the designers of the latest Silverado and GMC Sierra, and what they were going for, they wanted to skip a generation. Basically, they didn't want to kind of evolve. They wanted to make a leap. And I think they've done it because it was controversial, right?
Oh, for sure.
When you do something controversial, you're not, just doing status quo. You're not just continuing where you were.
So in your opinion, who's got the best styling right now?
I think it's GMC.
Yeah, I agree. I think GMC.
Yeah, not Chevrolet specifically.
Yeah, I think
specifically GMC.
Chevy took that and made it really bold, and then GMC toned it down just a little bit. So it's very similar, and it's kind of angular and almost I mean, look at our Trail Boss that we have, our current one. It's almost like a Cylon from the old science fiction movie, right? It's
got like air intakes.
It's mean. There's just you expect that little light to go back and forth, like the Cylons had. And this is probably an old reference for you guys. So I think I'm going to go like maybe more Stormtrooper. How about that? That's a little bit more less opaque and less weird. I agree. I think GMC is doing a really good job right now.
And Toyota, it's been kind of the same, but the new one is coming in a year from now.
So Toyota's Toyota. Yeah, it hasn't changed. So it probably needs a change.
I'll be really curious to see all of their grills. Like we've seen like 1 or 2 prototypes, but obviously there's like 6 or 7 trim levels.
Oh hell yeah!
So I want to see exactly how Ford does that because you have to differentiate each trim.
Right. I mean, there'll be some that'll be all blacked out. There'll be some that'll be all chromed up. I mean, there'll be a combination.
Crossbars, whatever.
Yeah. C-class, all that. All right. What's number 5?
Number 5 is safety.
Yeah.
It's becoming a hot topic. We've talked with representatives from IIHS who crash test, and now the big hot topic is headlights.
Yep.
Right. They've compared headlights for glare, for coverage. A lot of different parameters, and a lot of trucks actually don't meet the highest standards.
I would say a lot of trucks don't meet the lowest standard. Let alone, I would say that F-250 we have right now.
Yes.
It's like 2 steps above like dual candles. At least the XLT. I think if you go with the LED lights, but the XLT. And ironically, we went and bought like new light bulbs for it that were like $90. And it was like 3 candles. It didn't
change it much.
It didn't make it any better.
So we're trying to go to LEDs now.
Yes.
But that's very important. Safety. So trucks have improved dramatically in safety recently in the last 5 to 10 years. When Ford switched to aluminum, right, in 2015, which is their huge leap as far as...
Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's only been 5 years, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody was worried about safety. Aluminum is soft, it will crush, this and that. The roof strength is one of the best. So when they test roof strength for rollover...
Andre, it's military-grade aluminum, not just regular...
I wasn't going to say that.
Military-grade.
I wasn't going to say that. But they've did their homework, and then they've updated, the front crash protection systems and the frame and all this stuff. So it's good, but headlights need to get better. And this, overall the truck needs to be better.
I think if you compare like what Toyota is doing, right, the Japanese have gotten into this kind of arms race in terms of safety, and the Koreans as well. So if you buy any of the Japanese brands now, they have different names for it. So like Toyota calls it their safety sense, but they all pretty much come with this select group of safety suites, right? Which includes like autonomous braking, lane departure warning, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise, right?
Backup assist.
And because they're in this kind of arms race, they all have it now standard on even like their least expensive models, which when you think about it is great, right? It's like when Volvo gave out the design copyright for the seatbelt. They were like, this is too important for us to just...
Let's all have it.
Yeah, and so you buy a lonely Civic or a Corolla or even, an entry level and you get all that stuff. But yet in trucks, it's just starting to get to that point, right? I mean, if you really want all that stuff, I'm not sure there's a truck that actually has all those features. Maybe a Toyota now.
So Nissan
has done it, and I think Toyota
most
has done
recently.
it. Yeah. But I don't think you can get all that in one of the big three domestics yet.
And I think that has to do with just the number of variations they have, because they have anything from a $28,000 truck all the way to $75,000 truck in the same lineup. But I wish they would do that, and maybe they will. Right?
Yeah, and I think it also has to do with, in some ways, physics, right? We were talking to the IIH guys, and they were telling us that, we have a smart car here that we're kind of playing with in different ways. You get a smart car versus an F-150, and no matter how many airbags a smart car has, or no matter how strong that roll cage is, right? They say it's a tritium roll cage. The physics of it are not good, because I learned something new in that. If you watch that podcast, you probably would have learned it too, or listened to it. And that is there's two things that happen in an injury, right? There's the initial impact, right, which is your body gets thrown forward, and of course the airbag goes off and cushions that. But if it's a big vehicle versus a small vehicle, then there's that secondary injury that happens, and that is when the small vehicle stops and then gets pushed backwards, right? Because
now you have like whiplash.
Now you got it going backwards, because all of a sudden it's I'm showing it with my hand, but here's the F-150, here's a smart car, so it's not like that, it's like that,
and you get pushed back,
and you get pushed back, and it's that secondary. The physics of that secondary impact that are actually very damaging. So I think trucks have been, safer because of the physics of it. But nevertheless, it's like this arms race for safety gear is going to have to be incorporated, I think, in the new F-150. Don't you think they're going to have to compete with Toyota?
Yeah, absolutely. And Nissan.
Yeah, and Nissan. Yeah.
Yeah, they might argue that Nissan doesn't sell a lot of trucks, but still.
They do, yeah. No, they do.
Yeah.
All right, now what's next on our list?
Number 4 is fuel economy.
Yeah.
It's a big hot topic, obviously, and a lot of other companies are doing electrification.
And don't go there. We'll get there.
Okay, I know. So Ford went to turbocharging, right? Mm-hmm. They made a big push. 2011, they launched their EcoBoost engine, and they have been perfecting it or getting it better and better over the years ever since. But I think there's still room for improvement.
Yeah, there's that saying, you can have eco or boost, but you can't have both.
Right, and they're getting there. They're getting for both. But in real-world testing, even a year ago, we were struggling to get EPA ratings in some of these on some of these trucks.
Yeah, when it first came out, right, the Ford's marketing line was V8 power with V6 fuel economy. But when we did our testing, it was more like V8
over V8 power with V8 fuel
economy in a V6 twin turbo.
Yeah,
and I think what happens is it's very fuel efficient until you get into the turbos, right? The second you start hauling ass or stuff
or
both, it gets thirsty,
right? And they've improved it with transmissions, right? They went to 10 speeds.
Much improved.
Yeah, and they've improved it with software. Now there's economy modes that changes the transmission mappings. Even the Super Duty now has the economy mode. So that's very important. They're working, but they're being pressured by others, right? So GM is actually our trail boss. Usually matches the EPA rating to the dot. I mean, it's very precise. If they say it's going to get 21 mpg, it will likely get 21 mpg. So you gotta be very careful.
So here's Roman's tip number 1.
What?
For truck shopping. If you guys are out there truck shopping and you're looking for the most fuel efficient truck out there, a great rule of thumb is the older the power plant, the more thirsty it will be. And we can go down the line, right? Think about the thirstiest power plant out there right now. And
it's a Toyota V8.
Exactly. And it's also the oldest, right?
Yeah.
So as newer power plants have come online, we're talking about the EcoBoost, the 2.7,
and even the turbo Chevy,
the new 4-cylinder. Then they become so. If you want to go out truck shopping, do some homework or email us, which you will,
or just watch our videos.
And in general, the newer the engine, the better fuel economy it will get, and the older and more classic. And that holds true for the Hemi, right? It's also thirsty. Mm-hmm. It's been around for a long time in the Ram.
Right.
And we found that out in our fuel economy loop that we did with the old Ram that we had.
The Rebel.
Yeah.
And of course, Ford has a 2.7 liter, not just the 3.5 liter.
Is that their most popular engine choice?
Yeah, I think now it is. It's amazing, how they changed the V8 strategy.
The Coyote, the old Ford
which
5
is still
liter.
there, to a small V6. And a lot of people... you guys send us emails and you say, I just bought a 2.7 and it's great. It's powerful and it's efficient. So that's good. And this leads to number 3 on our list, which is engine lineups.
So how many does Ford have now?
Like 7.
Wow. And
Or
GM
6.
has also 6
Yeah,
or 7.
7. Yeah. So I think GM is currently at 7 technically because they have all of the transmissions available with almost every engine. Ford is at 6. I think they're going to pare it down maybe a little bit.
Ram's at 2.
Or maybe 3 if you consider e-torque.
Yeah. And then
Toyota's at 1.
And Nissan
is at
1.
1.
Yeah.
But I think choice is important, so I think they need to maintain their engine lineups. There was a leak several months ago that somebody decoded the VIN number for the new 2021 truck. Once again, it's a leak; it's unofficial. But that leak said that they're keeping the V8 because everybody was scared. Everybody was scared that the V8 is going away. It may still go away. We don't know. EcoBoosts are staying with updates, so the 2.7 and 3.5 are staying. And the diesel is staying. I was really surprised by this leak that said the diesel, the 3-liter V6 turbo diesel that the F-150 has, will stay with some updates. And then there's a new one.
Why were you surprised with that?
Because it's not currently the class-leading engine for them. So if you look at the latest EcoDiesel, if you look at the latest Duramax Straight 6 from GM, the Ford engine is least efficient.
It's also the oldest.
And it's also the oldest, and it's also is not maximum towing like the Ram engine is. So I thought maybe it's time to retire it. But they want to update it seems.
And this isn't set in stone. This is just stuff we've heard. Yeah.
And finally, we'll get there, but electrification.
Yeah,
is coming.
But don't go there yet because number 2 is
interior.
Yeah, I remember reporting on Ram when they came out with their latest generation of trucks, and they said they had like $1 billion to develop the Ram full-size truck, right? And they put a lot of that into, obviously, because they didn't do really any new engines, right? Into the interior, and I think that was smart because I think somebody at Ram figured out that that's where you spend most of your time when you're driving inside the truck, and so you want it to be nice. And my gosh, they've already had, I think, one of the best infotainment systems. Uconnect has always been very intuitive and easy to use, and then to combine it with a 12-inch screen, and then to combine it with like buttons that feel and function in a very precise and metallic sort of way, and then to combine it with materials that are just,
that won't cut your finger.
Yeah, they're a full level above anybody else in the game right now. I would say they're one level above.
It changed the game, basically.
Yeah, if somebody's a 10, they just went to 11. The old Spinal Tap reference.
And
it's beautiful. And I think that's a place where Ford is definitely lacking because every time I get in a Ford truck, I feel like I'm sitting in something that's been done to a budget, not done to appeal or not all of their trims, but certainly XLT or below.
But Ram changed the game. I mean, just look at their Laramie Longhorn editions with wood inlays with hot stamps on them.
Yeah.
Who thought of such things? But it looks
Real
premium.
buckles, right?
Real buckles that you're buckling.
It's crazy.
And little details, little, notches and all that stuff.
I mean, like you look at their knobs, right? They're metal knobs with little rubber surrounds, right? Right. They're not like Lipton bottle Coke caps.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool.
And I think that's important. And so I think Ford is going to have to really up their game. And like you said, Andre, it's hard to generalize because of COVID and because of the way that trucks have been incentivized. But for the first time, GM did outsell Ford. Combined with GMC and GM in the first quarter of this year. So we'll see what happens this next quarter.
On, yeah.
But the pressure's on. And Ram is also, Ram was always for the longest time kind of was between GM, Silverado, and F-150, and Ram was kind of like third distant. Yeah, but no, they are. And to get, let me put this in perspective. To get market share in the uber competitive truck market, that is a tall order. You got to be,
and Ram is doing it.
You got to be seriously committed to doing it.
And the interior is big. There are a lot of leaked photographs and images of the Ford interior. Mm-hmm. It seems like they are improving it. It seems like they're thinking about high quality materials, all that stuff, big screens.
Look, Ford is always going to come with the A game. Over the last
on the truck game.
With trucks at least. Yeah. I'm not sure about every vehicle they build, but certainly in trucks, that's, they know where the bread is buttered. And they're always going to bring their A game. It's like the Bulls when I was growing up, right?
Yes.
You
can win and then keep winning.
Yeah,
right?
You could have been Utah. You could have been, but the Bulls are all even tired. They were going to come. I was just watching that documentary, by the way, on.
There you
can
go.
Tell.
Yes. You pumped up.
Well, I grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
So I had
there you go. Number one on our list is electrification. So we've done another show about overhyped electric trucks, trucks that are being promoted but don't exist. And Ford committed to a hybrid F-150. They said a hybrid was coming, and in maybe a year from there, an electric F-150 is coming.
So let me answer that question right away, the comment that we're going to get, because we always get it, and that is, I don't give a dog's behind about any batteries in my old truck, right? I'm going to answer that because that's a comment we get immediately. I have zero interest in it. The fact is that the most hype, we've been doing this, like I said, Andrew, 10 years, right?
Yes.
The most hype vehicle, the most buzz that we've seen around any vehicle has been in second place is the Rivian, and number one place is a Cybertruck.
Right, Tesla.
Right, Tesla. And so while I'm sure a lot of traditional truck buyers, might be saying, I don't give a...
Don't care.
It is definitely where a lot of buyers are at right now. And it makes sense, right? Because tons of torque in an electric truck, right? You can do all kinds of crazy stuff like tank turns, which Rivian says it can do.
Right.
Tesla has completely, with the Cybertruck, has completely changed the name of the styling game, right? We were talking about like Ford deciding should I have a C clamp as a big C or a small C, right? Tesla said screw that,
triangle. Just go for triangles.
Yeah, we're going to build the Jefferson's truck. Yes, I want a big old scoop in the front.
Yes,
right, and they did it. Electrification is huge, and let's kind of break it down because really there is two things that are happening here. There's hybrid and there's fully electric. Mm-hmm. And of course, Toyota, we almost certainly know it. They haven't announced it, but it's almost, at this point, it's almost announced that they're going to have a hybrid in the next generation of Tundra.
Yeah, and they have a lot of IP and knowledge about this.
Yeah, of course. They're the forerunners, and they're the biggest company in the world. So I know Ford's biggest in the truck, but Ford and Toyota, they're not equals. Toyota is the biggest company in the world, and Ford, is several steps down that rung. And so if Toyota wants to bring on electrification and take their hybrid technology, which they invented and which they've sold tens of millions of units, and put it into the truck, take them seriously, Ford.
Yeah, and I think the hybrid technology is bridging the gap because electricity is nice, like you said, for power, maybe even the regen braking, but range is an issue, right?
Yeah.
When you hook up a heavy trailer to a truck, your range goes down dramatically, but then charge times don't go down.
Right.
Charge times are still pretty significant. So hybrid is kind of bridging the gap. So you can have a little bit more efficiency, but you can also go a long ways.
Yeah, and we've done the last episode. We did a whole podcast about. So I don't want to go into all the different competition. Suffice it to say that I think GM is in the wings. We don't know. They've kept this really well hidden. They've kept it hush hush. But the Hummer brand is coming back, and it looks like it's going to be an all-electric truck. So GM certainly isn't, letting the competition walk away with electrification. Toyota's going to be there. Ford has done an electric truck where they put out a video of it pulling a train. But the latest news is that they promised to have an electric truck in 2 years, which is in car development and truck development terms is not too long, but it may be too late.
If the others deliver.
Because Rivian's is supposed to come out at the beginning of, they were supposed to come out this year at the end. Now because of COVID, it's 2021. Tesla is probably another year and a half out from, but Tesla has the electrification network. I know Ford's building out for the Mach-E, but nevertheless, Tesla already has it. And then there are a lot of other smaller competitors, and God knows the wild card here, dude, is GM. I do not know what they're going to do with an electric truck. If you look at GM's history with electrification, and this is mind-boggling, but true, they have probably the deepest, most experience with electric vehicles. So, and not just in terms of like the vehicle, but actually the battery tech, right? And somehow,
EV1 was 25 years ago,
and
right?
they kept that technology to themselves, and for some reason they decided to put it in a Bolt, which is this little compact kind of commuter car, and not go full into it. But if they wanted to, they have it. So I'm really curious to see what the heck the new Hummer.
And there's another wild card is hydrogen fuel cell.
Yes.
Right. GM has that.
Yes.
They're working with the military. Yeah. The military. Yeah. The GM is working with the military on their hydrogen and fuel cells. Now Nikola, the new company that went public recently, and have same market capitalization on Wall Street.
That blows my mind.
As Ford.
That blows my mind.
Without a single truck still running.
Or factory that they've actually built out.
Right. So they're working on hydrogen and fuel cell technologies. Toyota has a lot of experience in this area. So that's another wild card. So if F-150 will be successful, it has to actually play that electrification game.
I think so. And I think, where we're sitting from, that's relatively obvious. I think where a lot of people are sitting from, like let's say you're in the middle of Texas, where one of 4 pickup trucks are sold. You're in, I don't know, San Antonio. It may seem like this far-fetched future, but where we're sitting from, kind of looking down on or up on all of the different manufacturers. It's
mostly up on.
Yeah, mostly up on. Yeah, and now because of what Ford
away from,
we're squinting through the keyhole into Ford since they got so mad at us for publishing some silly Bronco pictures that promoted the Bronco anyway. All right, enough of that. So that's number one. But Andre, we decided to put together some bonuses.
Yes.
Right, things that we think that the new F-150 is going to have to actually
break through the
noise.
Yeah,
in the competition. So let's start with those. What do you think?
So fancy tailgate has to be number one because General Motors has a fancy tailgate. Now Ram has the barn style doors. Who knows? So
I'm waiting for the refrigerator in the tailgate.
Refrigerator tailgate with built-in coolers.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So you can tailgate and keep your beer cold.
And then there's a patent. We wrote about this a couple of months ago that Ford had patented a different tailgate design, which kind of is a cross between General Motors and kind of a drawer-style tailgate where you can actually pull it out and actually lower it.
The lonely tailgate is going to become the most sophisticated bit of your truck in the next 10 years.
It's like a transformer, basically. It transforms into something else. You could sit on it. You can drink beer.
You could play music through it. You could climb on it.
Right. So fancy tailgate might be one.
Yeah.
Might be a wow factor. But I think, you know how when Land Rover launched some of their new SUVs, you could look through the hood?
Yeah, that was cool.
So that like one option.
More cameras where you can actually see for off-roading.
Yeah, like looking through the hood and you can see the rocks or whatever you're running over. You know how in Land Rover you could actually drive the vehicle over rocks by standing next to it?
Yeah,
You know, there's the remote control thing.
Okay.
What about that? What if you?
I don't know about the remote control thing.
What if you can get out of your F-150 and hook up a trailer by just controlling it with some sort of a remote? Far-fetched.
Yeah, the problem there isn't the F-150; it's a trailer, right? Because those trailer companies are
There's no standard.
yeah, there's no like national standard. That's like a whole bunch of like dudes building trailers.
But that would be pretty
in
cool.
Oklahoma, you know that, right?
But that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. But yeah, that we're far. And there's this disparity between like the truck and the trailer, and it's coming. They're working on it, but
Yeah.
it's, like I feel like the truck is like the Jetsons, and the trailer is like the Flintstones. I think that's like if you
And they have to meet somewhere.
yeah.
And finally, there's a 800-pound gorilla and the 8 million pound elephant in the room.
What's that?
It's the next Raptor.
Oh.
So what are they going to do? So we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But we do know that potentially this year the 2021 Ram TRX is coming, which is supposed to be Hellcat powered, probably well over 500 horsepower.
Yeah,
maybe even 700.
Yeah, so the Raptor is what,
450 right
450.
now. Right.
We know that the Hellcat's 727, so potentially you could have a Raptor fighter with 727.
With crazy suspension, really high
Racing suspension.
All of the bells and the whistles that you can imagine.
There has really, let's face it, no one has stepped up and competed with the Raptor in 10 years now. Right? There's like three things you need to build a Raptor competitor. You need to make it look cool, right? You need to have like race-worthy suspension, and people have done that. So look at like the Colorado ZR.
Kind of a smallish.
Right, it's got those two things.
Yeah. But power.
It never has the power, right? It never has
additional power. Extra power.
Same thing with the Ram Rebel, right? Same thing with the Trail Boss. It's the same engine choice. Whereas the Raptor has that additional
level of power
that they can go to. And so, I'm expecting finally a competitor. And we've seen the previous gen, right? They came out with it. They unveiled it in Texas.
The prototype, yeah.
Prototype. And then they waited for the next generation. And now, hopefully, in the next several months, we'll get it. And I'm super excited. The other two things I think that Ford might be playing with, and we haven't talked about this yet, is air suspension.
Yes.
Because Ram has air suspension, obviously. It's big in the aftermarket community.
Yeah, and that's a big deal because you can make your truck more efficient.
Yeah.
It can lower at highway speeds.
Yeah, it's either cool for looks or cool for function.
Yeah,
both ways.
It can go both ways. It can help you hook up a trailer because you can lower the hitch, put the trailer over it, and then raise the truck and actually hook up the trailer. That could be very useful. And
self-driving.
Self-driving is one. We kind of mentioned it already. Tesla is pushing that envelope. Rivian is talking about it too. Others are talking about it too. Before we move off the Raptor and before we wrap up this episode, you know what they usually do when they switch generations? The Raptor usually goes away for a year or two, right? That happened last time when the 2015 F-150 came out. It took them 2 years to bring the new Raptor. What if they need to do that again? They could lose market share if the TRX is there, the Raptor is not. The TRX will eat the lunch, basically, for at least a year.
Yeah, or even if the Raptor is there, I think as much as the Raptor has been hugely successful, and Ford doesn't publish numbers in terms of how many Raptors they sell. They sell about, 400 to 500,000 F-150s every year.
Right.
And we've heard from guys on the line, I guess I can say it now, there's nothing...
10%.
10%, yeah, 1 out of 10 of the vehicles that come off the line are Raptors, but that means that the Raptor has gotten a little long in the tooth. There's a lot of guys and gals out there who want the greatest and newest thing, and a Hellcat powered Ram TRX would certainly be that. So I think even if Ford doesn't do away with the Raptor, there'll be a lot of guys and gals who'll be going to the Ram dealership and trading in, a Raptor on a TRX just because it's new and it's different. Whether it's better, I don't know. We don't know. But I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that because let's face it, more power, whether you need it or not, is always great.
And V8 sound.
And V8 sound. Yeah.
So that could be huge.
Well, there you have it. So we will cover the unveiling as much as we can of the F-150 when it happens on the 25th of this month. So be sure to stay tuned to.
And let's see if we are kind of mostly right.
Yeah,
or wrong.
You think there's going to be something that's going to like we missed that'll be like blow our minds? Like
the wow factor that we haven't thought about.
Yeah, like they took a Fiesta 2-cylinder once.
Well, they mentioned the generator. They want to put auxiliary generator on the truck, maybe for hybrid technology or maybe just for the job site.
I was thinking more like Tesla wowing, like where he comes out with a Roadster and it's got rockets, like that. No, well, you don't think Ford would go that route?
So one of my dreams when I work late at night hooking up trailers.
Yeah.
And I need to go to the weight scale. Yeah. One of my dreams is where the truck actually knows how much it weighs.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
When you can actually dial into the center screen and technology exists, you can have little scales on each spring, on each corner of the truck, and if the truck said you have way too much tongue weight, do something, change it. That'll be cool. If the truck actually knew how much weight was on each corner of the truck, that's it. That's all I have.
That's cool, Andre. I would love that. I would love that. I would
right? It will make my job easier.
I would pay hard cash for that. Okay. Well, guys, thank you for spending another, what was that, about an hour with us?
Yeah.
A little bit less than an hour, talking about the new Ford F-150. And if we're right or if we're wrong, let us know in the comments below. We want to get your ideas. We want to know what you think the new truck will hold that will wow us and make you guys want to buy it.
Yeah, and the podcast is published across anywhere where podcasts are
sold,
but or not sold. It's free. But on Apple Podcasts, there are actually a section of reviews and comments.
Yeah.
We're actually reading the comments, and we're going to be doing more, involving you guys a little bit more in this discussion.
And smash that subscribe button or something, or whatever.
And the ratings button.
Oh, you like? Yeah. I think we have good ratings.
Five stars.
Yeah, I think that's you. They don't like me. I think that's you. You're very likable.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I blame Andre for all those good ratings. It's not me.
Thanks. We're still at like 5.0, I think.
It's you?
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Ciao. Oh, remember, go to TFLtruck.com, Andre.
For more real-world news, views, and real-world...
He works his butt off on that website, so yeah, definitely go check it out. It'll be, whatever breaks, it'll always be there first, just because it's much easier to write it up than to do the video. It's always there first.
But we do both.
We do both, eventually.
All right, thanks.
Bye.